Hey everyone, and welcome. When you first look at cloud storage, the options can feel, well, a little overwhelming. But honestly, it's not that complicated. Today, we're going to demystify the whole thing by thinking about it like a simple organizational challenge, just figuring out the right digital room for your data. Okay, let's jump right in.
Think about this for a second. Every single day, we create an absolutely staggering amount of digital stuff. Photos, documents, server logs, cat videos, you name it. It is a true data explosion. But have you ever just stopped and wondered, where does it all go? How on earth do we store it, organize it, and find it again when we need it? Well, that's the big question we're going to answer today.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with a really simple analogy I like to call your 3 digital rooms. Then we'll take a tour of each one, the shared folder, the personal hard drive, and the giant storage garage. And stick around for the end, because we're going to learn how to organize that garage to save you a ton of money. It's going to be super straightforward, I promise.
To really get a handle on cloud storage, let's just push all the technical jargon aside for a minute. Forget about APIs and protocols. Instead, I want you to picture 3 physical spaces that you already know and understand. This simple analogy is going to be our guide for this whole explainer.
See? It all maps out perfectly. When your job is working together on files, the physical space you'd use is a shared folder, right? Well, in the cloud, that's file storage. When the job is running an app, that app needs its own personal hard drive to work from. In the cloud, we call that block storage. And for the last job, which is basically storing everything else, you need a giant storage garage. And that, my friends, is object storage. This right here is our core framework. Simple, right?
All right, let's start our tour with the first room. We'll begin with something we've all used, the shared folder. In the world of cloud, this is called Filestore. So what exactly is Filestore? At its heart, it's a super high-performance shared network drive that just happens to live in the cloud. The key phrase here, the thing that makes it special, is shared access. This means lots of different computers or virtual machines can all connect to this one central place and read and write files at the exact same time. It feels just like that shared S drive you might have at the office. So when do you actually reach for this tool? Well, it's a lifesaver when you're moving older or legacy applications to the cloud that were built to work with a shared directory. It's also perfect for things like high-performance computing, where maybe hundreds of machines are all crunching numbers on the same massive data set. The bottom line is, if you have many computers that all need to mess with the same files at once, Filestore is your answer. Okay, let's leave the shared folder and head over to our second room, the personal hard drive. Its partner in the cloud is called Persistent Disk, and it has a totally different job. Persistent Disk is exactly what it sounds like. It's the hard drive that you attach to a single cloud computer. The best way to think of it is as the C drive for your virtual server. Now, unlike that shared folder we just talked about, this storage is dedicated to just one machine. It's fast, it's super reliable, and it's where your operating system and your applications actually live. And this really shows its main jobs. First off, every virtual machine needs a boot disk to start up its operating system. That's Persistent Disk. If you're running something like a database on a single server, it's going to store its data here. And then there's a special case. For times when you need absolutely blazing fast temporary storage, we call this scratch space, you can use something called a local SSD. But here's the catch. The data vanishes when you shut down the machine. The trade-off is you get just unbelievable speed while it's running. And now for our third and final room, and this one is a biggie. This is the giant storage garage. In the cloud, this incredibly flexible service is simply called cloud storage, and it's a type of object storage. Okay, so object storage is a totally different beast. You're not really dealing with files and folders like you're used to. Instead, you store these self-contained packages of data that we call objects. The magic phrase to remember here is infinitely scalable. I mean, you can literally store trillions of objects and petabytes of data, and you never have to worry about running out of room. It's built for an absolutely massive scale. So what kind of stuff do you throw into this massive digital garage? Basically, any kind of unstructured data you can imagine. All your photos and videos, critical backups for disaster recovery, enormous database exports, and archives of log files that you have to keep for years for legal reasons. Even the images and CSS files for a website often live here. It is the ultimate solution for bulk storage. All right, having a giant garage is amazing, but a messy, expensive one, that's a huge problem. So now we're going to get into the most important part of using object storage, how to organize it so it's as cheap as possible. And you know what? It all boils down to one simple question. How often do you need to get to your data?
If you need it frequently, maybe multiple times a day, you use standard storage. If you only touch it less than once a month, you can use nearline. Less than once every 3 months, that's cold line. And for data you might only access once a year, if that, you use archive storage.
This chart shows you the fundamental trade-off perfectly. Standard storage, on the left, costs the most per month to store your data, but it's the fastest and cheapest to actually access. As you move to the right toward archive, the cost to just let your data sit there plummets, but the time and the cost to retrieve that data goes up. And this brings us to the most important rule of object storage. Matching your data's access needs to the right storage class is the #1 way you will save money.
Let's make this real. Imagine a company comes to you and says, look, we need our application logs instantly available for the first 30 days so our developers can debug issues. After that, we just have to keep them for 2 years for legal audits, but we'll probably never look at them. How do you solve this without paying top dollar for 2 years of storage they barely touch?
The solution is actually beautiful, and it's totally automated. You set up what's called a lifecycle rule. When new log data comes in, it lands in that fast standard class. Then the rule just kicks in automatically. After 30 days, it moves that data down to the much cheaper cold line class. Then, after 2 years, it automatically deletes it. You set it up once, and it just works, saving you money every single day.
Okay, here's another common one, this time for compliance reasons. A financial company has to store documents for 5 years, and during that time, those files have to be completely unchangeable. They can't be edited, overwritten, or deleted by anyone, not even the most powerful system administrator. This is often called a warm requirement, for write once, read many.
And the tool for this job is called Bucket Lock. Seriously, think of it as putting your data into a digital vault and setting a time lock on the door for 5 years. Once you engage that lock, the policy is set in stone. It cannot be changed, it can't be shortened, it can't be removed by anyone until that timer runs out. It gives you the ultimate guarantee for data immutability, which is perfect for those tough legal and regulatory rules.
So, after our tour of the 3 digital rooms, what's the one thing I really want you to remember? It's this: there is no single best kind of storage. It just doesn't exist. The right choice is always about picking the right tool for the job. Do you need that shared folder, the personal hard drive, or the giant garage? Answering that one question is the key to building smart, efficient, and cost-effective systems.
So we've pulled back the curtain on the where and the how of storing data in the cloud. We've seen how to pick the right room and, just as important, how to organize it properly. So the only question left is, now that you know how to manage all this data, what incredible things are you going to build with it? Thanks so much for watching.